So hey everybody, what's going on? My name is Terry. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys and gals are all doing fan-heckin-tastic out there. Let's talk about some awesome news from our friends over at AMD. They released some brand new AM5 chipsets. They released some new CPUs, and they also released a couple new CPUs for their AM4 socket, which is like, what, 35 years old now, it seems like. So let's talk about this here. And for the first time ever on this channel, everybody, I have a slideshow. I have a slideshow. It's weird, I know, but let's jump in here to it, shall we? So as far as the new AMD X870 and X870E chipsets, USB 4.0 is going to be standard across the board here. Same thing for PCI Gen 5 on graphics and NVMe. So what used to happen here, folks, is that you might know this stuff, but whenever you would have a high-performance graphics card and a high-performance NVMe drive, depending on which piece of hardware needed the bandwidth, it would get split or, siphoned off one or the other essentially here, okay, to let one, piece of hardware run at the speed it needs to in order to perform the operation at hand. Well, on these new motherboards, you don't got to worry about that there, okay? Another great thing here, it seems like, is that for these new chipsets here and everything, for these new boards, they're going to allow for higher memory clocks. Now, of course, this is going to be really up to your CPU's built-in memory controller to see if it can actually handle those speeds, but the motherboards are capable, so hopefully, AMD can get those memory speeds up there pretty high, you know what I mean? Now, whenever it comes to socket longevity, this here is a pretty good one in my opinion, and AMD has kind of a pretty good track record of that in my opinion. They're still going to be supporting AM4 at least until 2025, which to me, in my opinion, is just insane. And as far as socket AM5, it says right here, new Ryzen processors through 2027 plus. So it looks like it's going to be around for a while as well. Now, as far as their brand new CPUs for AM5, it looks like we have 4 new releases here. The 9950X has 16 cores and 32 threads with the 5.7 max boost with the TDP of around 170 watts. The 9900X is a 12-core chip with 24 threads and 5.6 gigahertz max boost with the only 120 watts. Like this here is the chip that I've got my eye on. I really do. Then as far as the lower core count, the 8-core 16-thread is the 9700X with a max boost of around 5.5 gigahertz. And for the 6-core 12-thread chip, it's the 9600X with a 5.4 gigahertz max boost. And these lower core count chips have a max TDP of around 65 watts, so that's pretty cool to see. Now, as far as, in comparison to Zen 4, they are looking at here on average around a 16% IPC uplift for their new chips here. So what does that mean? It's your instructions per clock. In other words, how many things a chip can do at a given frequency. And you might say that, oh, well, AMD had the first 5 gigahertz consumer chip back in the day. And yeah, they sure did, but it was still a lot slower than anything Intel was putting out at a much lower clock speed. You know what I mean? So the fact that, the wattages are staying around the same, and a matter of fact, in some cases here coming down, but they're performing faster, that just goes to show how AMD is really trying to drive home their efficiency numbers as well as driving up their performance metrics as well. So that's really cool here, y'all. So as far as, gaming here, at least 10% higher in Far Cry 6 with as high as 35% better performance here in Geekbench 5.4. But again here, though, everybody, like I tell you all the time, whenever it comes to these, first-party lab results, wait for third parties to come in to verify these here, okay? 9550X is being compared to Intel's latest flagship, the 14900K, and I believe I read in the documentation here that they did these tests with the AMD chip having PBO turned off, or Precision Boost Overdrive was again turned off, and same thing here for the 14900K. It didn't have any of the motherboard manufacturer boost stuff enabled. It just essentially had the Intel defaults to where it ran the way it should and not, at 100 degrees Celsius 24/7 for these tests. So that's pretty good in my opinion. Now, as far as the numbers here goes, again, these are AMD's own numbers, so we got to wait for these third parties to verify, but it's a pretty substantial leap, especially if you do any kind of like productivity work, especially in something like Blender. That is a pretty substantial leap here. Same thing here for gaming. If you play games like Dota 2, Horizon Zero Dawn, They're saying anywhere between 70% higher and 23% higher respectively in gaming. Same thing here again for Handbrake and Blender. So pretty big numbers here, but please again folks, I cannot stress this next part enough. Wait for third-party tests. Now for all of you people still holding on to your AMD platform builds, I don't blame you at all, especially whenever you have something like this here. They have two brand new AM4 CPUs, the 5900 XT and the 5800 XT. Now as you all know, the 5900X was a 12-core 24-thread chip, but the 5900 XT, it's going to be 16 cores and 32 threads up to around 4.8 gigahertz for the max boost. And for the 5800 XT, it looks like it's going to still be an 8-core 16-thread part, but it's going to boost up to around 4.8 gigahertz for their max boost. And again, you know, the 5800 XT is going to have the Wraith Prism cooler included in the box, but for the higher end 16-core 32-thread chip, you got to bring your own cooler. But honestly though, at this point, why wouldn't you, right? Now as far as benchmark goes, again, take these here with a grain of salt. I can't stress this enough, y'all. Wait for third-party testing, but they are comparing the brand new 16-core 32-thread 5900 XT to the 13700K from Intel. So it's not the new 14th gen, but again, it's not built to compete with the new latest and greatest. So that's why they're comparing it to generation old here, but still pretty good if you ask me. So from AMD's first party testing here, it looks like you are going to be getting at least i7 13700K levels of gaming performance from the brand new 16-core 32-thread chip. So in my opinion, that's just fine if you ask me. And same thing here for the 5800 XT. Again, 8 cores, 16 threads. You're not going to compete with the brand new 14th gen, but the i5 13600KF, pretty substantial gains, especially if you play games like Cyberpunk. But again, take this here with a grain of salt. So I think this was a pretty good, you know, launch announcement here from AMD for the brand new line of AMD, AM5 chips, and of course the couple here for AM4. I really can't wait to see the actual real-world performance numbers, and especially whenever people still compare them to, Ryzen 5000. I think that would be, awesome for people like me that are still rocking a 5900X or maybe even a little bit something, lower core count on the AM4 platform, to give them some kind of incentive to see what kind of performance they could gain if they switch to AM5 on, just on the whole here, But do me a favor, folks. Are you excited about these new launches? Are you going to upgrade? And then, hey, maybe you still like me. You're on AM5, maybe a 3600X or a 5600X. Are you going to upgrade to one of these brand new AM4 chips? Do me a favor, sound off down below, and I'll catch you guys and gals next time.